Hi, my name is Gabriel Perez and welcome to the Dad Schooler YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to talk about 5 books that have radically changed my homeschool and my family leadership. Coming up. Hi, I'm Gabriel Perez, and if you like videos like this, I'd like to encourage you to subscribe so you can be a part of all the new content that comes out and a part of this community. All right, 5 books that have helped me in my homeschooling journey. And so the first one I want to talk about is very basic, very simple. It says it all in the title. And it is Help, I'm Married to a Homeschooling Mom. This book, which seems self-explanatory, if you are just new to homeschooling, if you're that dad like me who did homeschool but was only doing it to appease his wife, this book is definitely for you because it just laid out a great foundation for what you can do for your wife, how you can help them, and just the whole premise of the principal concept of being the head of your home. Like when I started homeschool, I really didn't want to do anything. And so a lot of times my wife was struggling and I was just like, I pay the bills, so I fund the homeschool. So I don't really feel like I have to do much other than that because I did my part. And so this book changes the whole perspective. It changes the game. It's a great and simple read. You can read it. If you're not a big reader, you can read this. It's simple. You got this. So definitely first pick is Help, I'm Married to a Homeschooling Mom by Todd Wilson. He has a lot of other good books that didn't make my top 5, but they are great books too. The next book is The Read Out Loud Family by Sarah Mackenzie. This book has radically transformed my whole thinking as far as reading to my kids and the value that it brings. She goes into even like not just like why you should read to your kids, but actually the value that they get, what they learn from you reading to them, how it helps them grow in character development and compassion and empathy. I mean, there's so much value and wisdom in this book that I think it's an important read. And to be honest, I'm not really, I read a little bit. I read more than the average person, I'd say, but I audible a lot. So this book is one that I found on Audible, where I consumed it very quickly, but we also bought the book too. And so I would encourage you, hey, if you're on your way to work, Audible is great. That is a great time to get in some valuable knowledge. Check this book out because it has transformed the way I've doing homeschool. Because some days when it's crazy and things aren't going the way that we've planned, which is okay, just reading to them is enough. If I know I read out loud to them, I know I did something good. I know I helped them. I knew I bonded with them. And so, there's a ton of value in just reading out loud to your children and reading this book. So that is my second recommendation. And this is in no particular order, except for probably Help, I'm Married to a Homeschooling Mom. If at any base that you're just starting homeschool or wondering how to get involved, that is the book. Next one is Parenting is Hard Work. Now, can you see this book? If you're listening on the podcast, obviously you can't. But for my YouTube audience, this book worn down because I've read it a few times and I highlighted things. So that tells you that this is a good book. I mean, look at it. It's all ratty. It's all janky, man. Spilled milk on it. Parenting is hard work. So I'm actually in the process of becoming a coach for the Biblical Parenting Association with one of the authors of this book, Dr. Scott Turansky. The other is Joanne Miller. They have a program. I am involved in it. I am almost done. So that is something that I plan on working in future episodes, is just sharing a lot of the insights from these books that they've written. I have the second book on the list, but this book was powerful. Parenting is hard work. And man, it really opened my eyes to how I was parenting. And honestly, the hard work that I had to do in my own heart to parent my own kids. A lot of the things that I'm learning is, and if you're struggling with your kids, struggling with parenting them and having difficulties in different areas, it almost always starts with you. And it's usually we got something in our own heart that we need to address. And as I was reading this, I was like, man, I got to parent myself before I can even parent my kid's heart. But I love this, and it's just such a great book. It really gives great examples of the heart and how we do so many things within our heart that are just, we're stubborn. And it prevents us from listening. It prevents us from growing. We develop these habits. Just such a great book. And it was the beginning of my journey to becoming a biblical parenting coach. And so couldn't recommend this book anymore. You can find this on Amazon. You'll find all the books on Amazon, but I will be linking all the books in the show notes in the description so you can check it there. This fourth book is Motivate Your Child. This book is one of the other books from Dr. Scott Turansky and Joanne Miller. And I love this because it's based upon the principles of which, same thing as parenting is hard work, but it's not behavior modification. It's facilitating heart change in your child. And this shows how to properly motivate your child, and not in the sense like, if you do X, Y, Z, okay, then you can play your video games. It's like, no, we're going a little deeper with that. We're going to see, if we can work together, then you have the ability to have video games. Because your character is there. There's a lot of great concepts in this book that just facilitate building of character and not just do this for that. And so I think it's very valuable because, when you're building children up, and I'm obviously getting into this because I'm in it, but when you're building children up in the way that is behavior modification, you're actually stimulating selfishness in them. And so, great book, guys. Please, fathers, do a favor, grab it. Last book, God's Schooling. I would say that, we got this from some people that we look up to, the Torres family, and she's a YouTube mom. So I also link her channel in the show notes, but we're great friends with her and her husband. Her husband recommended this book, got it for us. Great book because I would say, there's homeschooling, there's unschooling. We're a little in the middle. This book it's not an unschooling book, but it's a book that really helps you change the way you school your children. If you're getting involved in the curriculum, you're wondering, how do I teach my children and how do I go about this? This is great because it just gives a good example of how God intends school to be for the children, and how we can stress so much about that, but if we could just rely on God, and pray about our children, pray about the direction we'll go, you'll find that he leads you in certain things that really facilitate the child's growth and their personal development. It's a personal growth plan. So it's like, it's not being in the mold that they have to do this and this and this and that. It's somewhat of a child-led learning, but you're taking it to God. And it gives just so many great ideas of how she's done that with her children, how she's incorporated that, and how they've just benefited from God schooling, from the whole idea that God is in charge and we just need to get into his presence, to partner with God in doing that. And that's, when I think about even the Motivate Your Child or the Parenting is Hard Work, these are books where they're just helping us really partner with God in raising up our children and leading them in their schooling and in their heart, and how they can go out and function in the world with these skills, that it's not necessarily like this is the like so structured, but just being open. And it was a great book. I really found a lot of value in it. I wasn't at my highlighting stage yet, because just recently I started highlighting books as I read them, because it helped me remember what I was reading, helped me really dig into it. So just a couple things for if you're a new reader. I had a couple tips. Highlight, underline. It'll just help you be more engaged, because so many times I'll read and I'm just reading and I don't even know what I read, because I'm just like going through the habit of reading. So if you highlight, if you underline, it kind of just helps it stick out more into your brain, and then you get to reference it. So just a tip there. Audible is also your best friend, busy dads. There is no shame in Audible in books, because if you miss something, well, just go back and read it. Just go back, or not read it, just go back and listen to it again. You have access to that book. And so Audible is huge. It's a game changer. And if you're sitting in traffic on your way to work, well, you have some time. If you're doing dishes, you have some time to Audible. A lot of my Audible listening is during work, because I drive a lot. So I'm able to consume a mass amount of books, and it helps. So these books right here is what I'm recommending. Let me know in the comments below what book you're recommending, and that's for my YouTube audience. Or if you have a recommendation, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to read it. Podcast listeners, send me an email at thedadschooler@gmail.com. I'd love to hear your recommendation. What books have really spoken to you as far as leadership or homeschooling. Dads, we need to get a movement going on, because it's funny. I've been reading a lot of homeschooling books that aren't on this list, but they are aimed towards moms. And so, it's good when we can get books for dads. And, so I'm always on the lookout for some dad schooling books. Hey, dad schooling books. Maybe I'll write my own book. No, don't see that one yet. But thank you guys for being here. Thank you for being a part of the community. And I would love to connect with you guys. You guys can shoot me an email at thedadschooler@gmail.com. Please connect with me on Instagram if you're there on social media. Also at The Dad Schooler. I have created the Dad Schooler Facebook group. And guess what? There's no one in there. That's okay, because I just created it. But if you're interested in connecting there, I'd love to just build a community of guys sharing ideas, growing together, and learning together. Because that is the ultimate goal, is to just build this community where we can encourage one another in the leading of our families. So with that said, this is Gabriel Perez, and this is the Dad Schooler Podcast.